Why can Donald Trump behave like Donald Trump? I think the most obvious explanation is social signaling theory, apart from the other obvious explanation, which is that he can. That he can is basically the core explanation. If Trump was 7 years old and would still have a grandfather, a father, and would have to go to school, then obviously he could not afford the same behavior as he can as if he is the president of the most powerful country in the world. He has power and he has resources. He not only has power and resources out of the social domain, but he also has network resources. He has so many network resources that he got elected a second time and now is controlling the common resources of millions of Americans, and thereby also influencing the lives of millions and billions of people. Of course, it's hard to say what the net effect of a certain policy introduction is, but one could assume that by introducing, for example, his different tariffs, he probably produced transaction costs, meaning that, at least on average, things get more expensive, globally averaged. Of course, he does not really have to carry the cost, and in terms of choice architecture, therefore, maybe something like this, a system without major feedback loops might not be very beneficial. But that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is why can Trump behave like Trump? And also why behaving like Trump for a person like Trump might even be beneficial. Because it sends off a signal that he, historically, on average, was able to behave like this. And he still is around and he still seems to do things. Which means that internally he has to have a world model which allows this behavior. Which now means that in the past, historically, there have not been feedback loops that severely constricted this worldview. Meaning, when one sees Trump, and when one sees Trump behaving like Trump, then what one also indirectly accesses is his, to a certain extent maybe faked, but to a certain extent also real, averaged historic worldview that then results in a prediction model of the future. So if he behaves in a way, then this is also a social signal. Oh, I guess he can behave like this. And of course, the more he can behave like this, i.e. the average social acceptance of such behavior, the more he also can act like this in the future. It's compounding infinitely. It might be a big hypothesis, but take a look at schools. Children are rude. Children are almost brutally rude. Children fight each other physically on the playground, only to then move into more socially accepted passive aggression when growing up as a teenager. One could almost guess, also maybe having Steven Pinker's remarks on historic violence in mind, that adults are just internally still children and just masking because it benefits them. Being nice, therefore maybe for the most part, is just the social mask we all carry. But